Quick disclaimer up front, I'm a novice rider. I purchased my first dirt bike 7 months ago. This is my first race. This race may not be interesting to some of you, but let's get into it. The Czech Chase, Hare and Hound, 2025, 75th anniversary. Pulling out here, the shot from the pit lane. This is around 8 a.m. as it's getting set up. And here's kind of just a quick spin with the drone. You see some of the team camps in the background, some of the surrounding mountains. This is kind of the finishing area. The start line is a couple miles north from here. I don't think you can really make it out, but it's kind of beyond that haze. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to use the drone to record the start, but my girlfriend did get a really nice clip. Now, here's a quick ride through a section behind the start line. This is probably a quarter of the start line you're seeing here. Checkers return to the tradition of one big start line. Everybody lined up, single start. Now this did make it hard for some people to get a spot along the line, but because I'm a novice, I was totally okay being a couple bikes back. So this might be interesting to some of the guys that were at the race to see this. There's a little bit of a false start at the beginning, which you could see really clearly in this video coming up. And here is from my view. So I wasn't planning on being aggressive at all during this start, but I think that was kind of the game plan of the guy next to me as well. Just kind of wanted to see how it went and give everybody as much space as possible that knew more what they were doing. This was, believe it or not, my first time riding on sand, but you'll see my hesitation with it throughout the video. I mean, here this sand is definitely a lot more packed than some of the areas coming up, but there's a lot I have to learn. And that's namely going to be keeping the revs a lot higher, maybe even staying in a lower gear, but just lightening the front wheel and allowing the rear tire to get more traction that way. Now, since this is my first time, I thought the best approach here was to go slower and wait for the dust to settle. But I think now that I've done this once, I would go a lot faster through this section. There really wasn't anybody down. I mean, you'd be able to avoid them easily. This section was definitely the easiest of the race by far. first encounter with one of those danger signs, they're definitely well placed. I mean, obviously that one was pretty easy, but you could expect some guys would be flying out of that section. So giving them a heads up that there's something, to hang on to their bike extra tight is really well done by the race organizers. Getting off those more or less roads, probably about a quarter mile into this 40-mile first loop. So the rest of this race is just pure, untamed California desert. Got a little lost here in the beginning, I think a couple times, just following the riders, not necessarily the track markers. Kind of cruising through this section in, I think, 4th gear. And the rest of this race is about to get a lot more technical, which, as a novice, there's a lot of mess-ups. along that stretch of going fast into the middle of nowhere, I got lost and had to find the trail again. Fast forward a bunch of that because I really just forgot to wipe the lens. And that's because I'm a novice, but there was a really gnarly, at least to me, sandy hill climb in the middle, which I stalled out on many times, trying to find traction. shortening some of the clips here just to make this total video length a little bit shorter. one word of advice if you're a novice like me that wants to try to do this, definitely bring some water. This is in January, which is the coldest time of the year out here, but I mean, right now with this sun blaring on me, all this gear on, heart rate going, I was super hot. Definitely pulling water out of my pack. See that marker off to the left there, kind of just goes to show you how easy it is to get lost out there. I mean, this obviously looks like a trail of some sort, but here I gotta go and find that again. Checkpoint of the race, which I think was about maybe 10 miles into the race. I kind of didn't know it was a checkpoint and why people were stopped, so I thought I should just go carefully through here. But those guys were nice enough to let me know that my turn signal was on, because this bike is totally outfitted as a dual sport. I think in the future I'll try to remove and disable that stuff, because yeah, there's no way I want to pay attention to the indicators, and it's just kind of funny for the racers around me. So this is just a totally different landscape over here after that checkpoint, probably for the next 20 miles. Really fun stuff, but I kind of didn't know what to expect, so I was going a little bit slower.
Filthy.
Yeah, this section, same. There's definitely a lot more of that coming up though, little did I know. Some more of that loose, low traction silt. So unfortunately, this video is about to wrap up. My last novice move here is that I forgot to bring additional batteries. This is probably about 20 miles into the race. So coming up, there's a pretty gnarly hill climb all the way in the distance out front. I'll leave you off with just basically where the battery died after this. A view back into the valley, about a third of the way up from that mountain. But I managed to finish, and if you have any tips for me to do this better next time, please let me know.